Good evening. All right, kicking us off, who would like to start our recap? A lot of mayhem happened last time, particularly contained to a dwelling of an elderly couple and their grandson. However, it seems that this chaos may be spilling over Laplace itself.
Well, maybe to the neighbouring combustive materials, yeah.
I
So
believe that
we went to the house of
the Smith family.
the Smith family. I can't was Cameron
It was Chase Smith was
Chase.
the address on the ID you had of the young man.
Yeah. So we went to his house to stake a potential forward operating base. Further forward operating base.
I don't know why you bothered with any of that. Oh, that's right. And I didn't understand why you bothered with any of that.
Correct.
And whilst there, some people got a bit hungry.
I would say less people got a bit peckish and more people were a bit curious. Remember, this game is about being truthful with yourselves and learning what your new natures are. Embracing that, because they're beautiful, terrible things. You're Cainites, you're blessed. Shame is for humanity.
True.
That being said, yes, a few people were a bit peckish.
Hey,
There
someone.
Mainly someone. The grandmother was not long for this world. She was quickly, handled by Frank. The others decided to approach from the rear of the building, taking a cautious stance and finding the grandfather, which was handled a bit differently.
Yeah,
How
they
did you
took
take care
a
of him?
really long time to kill him. I can't believe how long it took him to kill him.
In fact, he was a mainstay through most of the scene that evening.
I was so wanting to make him into like our Jeremy Gilbert or something, but it just didn't happen. So,
That's fair.
or Matt Donovan. Yeah.
In the end, you made off with the valuables you could find. Poached a few outfits to replace those that you needed to replace. Not everything fit everyone, however. Dr. Isaacs, you found a suitable, technically, suit for your stature. You also happen to find something else, something very important that you were hoping you could get your hands on. What
The
was
gas
that?
main.
Well, that was more of a choice than a hope.
The cash.
That was definitely a desire. And you did find some. Do you remember where you found it and how much?
Under the mattress.
Mm-hmm.
It was
$200, I think.
Correct. Yeah, you guys have $200 to your name.
It's loaded.
Jules, I believe you grabbed a few other items.
Some pearls, some other like little trinkets that wasn't like, that maybe I could pawn off. The shitty fucking shovel that like broke. But
Ruined that shovel.
Yeah.
It's disrespecting your tools. You got to look after your tools.
Yep. Then I felt the frenzy hit me, but the anger, but I controlled it, and then I saw Hank. Well, Jules saw Hank also suffer from the same the temper.
That's
He was able
right.
to control it. Yeah.
You're starting to realize that not only it's really not all fun and games. There's something else, something a bit more animalistic inside you now. Whereas maybe it was a whisper when you were a human. For some of you, it's an urge. It's very much on your doorstep every single moment of the evening that you're awake now.
I had
Go
a
ahead.
different experience though.
Correct.
because having drained every drop out of Grandma,
Mm-hmm.
my hunger was entirely sated.
Yes, it
And
was.
because my hunger was entirely sated, I had nothing to distract me. So I was pretty cheerful and was lost in another time.
A pleasant days.
And he took a shower for the first time in probably years.
Days.
Oh, okay.
Felt like years. Smelled like years.
It's just a good thing I'm not a Toreador or else, you know.
You would not have a good time with your current operating base.
I had some difficulties in figuring out who. I can't even remember her name now. V's character's name.
Oh, Jules?
Jules. I had some difficulties in remembering that she was Jules and not Lucy.
Yeah, you kept calling Jules Lucy a lot, but Jules,
Yes.
seeing you so happy, just decided to play along with it, especially like, you know, because you were really acting very weird. Because you went from grumpy pants to, you know, singing pants. And that was just, yeah,
Disturbing.
very. And then Jules got a little hungry because of all that expenditure of you know, fucking up the shovel and everything, and then ain't grandpa, so you know, drained him.
There is something that happened in the midst of all of this. One of your missing pack mates showed up.
Yeah, it was someone from the diner.
Ah, so you caught that.
Well, I nearly shot him.
Hank, how was your evening comparative to theirs? They've been a bit lively.
Yeah. So Hank's evening started a little bit quieter. Smokey dropped him off in a car park. Told him that he would be picked up by a colleague of his, and to wait there. And sure enough, Herbert, as he likes to be called, or Gautier, picked me up. Said that we were basically getting rid of this Canberra person for him before she causes too much trouble, and took me to the house
Indeed.
where I also tried to shovel and also nearly lost my temper. Need some lessons from Frank in how to shovel.
Well, when you're used to dealing with BS.
Basically, Jules and Hank is gonna just have Frank be the official, like, you know, ditch digger and everything.
He is pretty handy, to say the least. Peter, you mentioned that you recognize the individual which dropped um, Hank off.
He was the guy in the car park who was watching us as we were getting some information.
Do you remember what he looked like?
Yeah.
He is a late 20s, early 30s, looked to be like a businessman that had gotten off work late with short, slick back hair, and he seemed to have his sleeves rolled up. When you observed him originally, he was eating a meal from the Frost Top in a parking lot a couple down the road, and he seemed to just be kind of dazed or staring off into the distance toward the Frost Top.
But that's exactly how I remember him.
Perfect.
Me too.
So, finding the gas main after procuring a new chair, finding your faithful old red beat up truck that you
Oh,
lovingly
yeah.
have now, um, and escaping from the scene of your terrible crimes. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no guilt. That's for humanity. The scene of your first kills, collectively. You make your way back towards the construction site where you were originally dropped off at the outskirts of Laplace, deciding to hide the vehicles about a mile away from the entrance, inside some of this a bit more dense underbrush and not exactly forest, but there's like a decent tree patch nearby that you could easily manipulate for your purposes. You make down for bed for the evening, and when you rise the next night, you go to recover your vehicles. What happened?
We got one out just fine.
Hmm.
I think that was Frank driving and Hank pushing.
Correct.
We tried to get the second one out with Frank towing and Hank driving. It was less successful, and Hank has crashed the second car into a tree.
Correct. So you managed to get you
Just a
managed
scratch.
it's just a scratch. It's still perfectly operable. Just some paint coming off, a little bit of a dent in the door. Nothing that will keep you from being able to use it, however. These are sturdy vehicles. A tree of that size is not going to take it out. If anything, it's going to take the tree out and keep on going. Um, that being said, you are able, with some more manipulation, to pull the truck out and get it on the road. And ascertaining the damages, you can tell it's mostly superficial. It won't impact its lifespan or how you're able to use it at all. So unfortunately, the one that did get a few dings is the nice, pretty one that you had, the newer blue one. And faithful old red, you guys got it out first. It is the powerhouse. And so we'll jump into this evening. You're barely into the midway point of your first week as Cainites. You've already been given a directive. You're in more or less enjoying yourselves right now. Realizing the differences, the empowerments of it. And now you have a header. You were given further instructions pointed in a particular direction. Speaking to the young crowd at the Frost Top, you were able to discern that Anne frequents the area almost nightly, at least 3 to 4 times a week at this point. She's also very popular around the drag strip, which is a racing spot in town. And there is a nearby small hotel, locally run and owned. It looks like a building has been converted into an area that would have maybe 4 or 5 single to double rooms in there. In the front end, there are also a few gambling machines, standalone slot type. Where do you head first this evening?
So we are at the construction site at the moment.
Yes, you are a mile down the road. Some of your group has not made it to you yet because you two went ahead to try and pull the vehicles out.
So why don't we swing back and pick them up?
Mm-hmm.
You do have the plywood and the boards that you used here, and if you want, you can probably cover them and leave them in place for later to be reused.
That's exactly what I want to do.
Do you want to do anything with the chair in the back of the red truck right now? Because it's still tied down. You have it tied down, but you have it laying in the back, and it's been open to the elements for at least one night. And you can tell when you woke up, there had been a heavy rain.
I didn't think of that.
What do you want it for?
I want to take it back to the gardener.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll dry out. Be all right.
Why don't you
Always be
take it
able-
back with us? Can we get it underneath the construction site bit? Was it going to be too big?
Probably. Well, if you and I can fit in there, we can probably fit a chair in there.
Well, the
Yeah.
difference is the two of you can actually bend and move. The chair is pretty static. Like if you lay it down on its side, there's maybe enough clearance for it, but you might scrape it a little bit.
Or can we pinch some tarpaulin from somewhere to cover it?
Why don't we take it off the back of the truck and leave it where we're parking the trucks?
Mhm.
Swing back to the building, the construction site, and pick up the guys. See if we can pick up some tarp and we can cover it there. And then anything else we want to take back to the gardener afterwards, we can stow it out of the way there.
Right.
The two of you unhitch the trucks from one another and make your way down the road to the construction area. Dr. Isaacs, Peter. Sorry, just a moment. Everyone. Jules, what are the three of you up to? You woke up at the same time as everybody else, but you were lingering getting ready for the evening.
Thinking about best options. We don't know where this kid's going to be. Do you think, just chatting to the rest of them, do you think we should split up? Send some of us to one location, another to another. Find a payphone nearby and use that to communicate?
Not a bad idea, Jules says as she has a cigarette lit and is puffing on it.
I imagine you're still laying in like your single scoops for your beds and you're just laying there smoking, thinking about it, filling underneath the trailer with smoke.
Most likely, yeah.
Peter.
I wouldn't have thought these places are too far apart. You know the area? Anyone know the area?
I think Jules is familiar with New Orleans, but I don't know if how familiar she is with the plot. That word.
Here.
Yeah, there, where we're at.
Table talk. Would you hate me if I said I picked it just to mess with how you say it?
La
For everybody.
Place.
Laplace.
Yes,
Well,
Laplace.
it figures you truly are a Sabbat storyteller. So
Evil
Jules,
in human form.
these are lies and slander.
Well, not everybody.
It's lies and slander, and I hold no fault for what happens towards the end of the campaign. Anyway, Jules would be familiar with the area to a degree. She knows the Frost Top. She knows that andouille sausage is very popular and one of the main, if not primary, makers that kicked it off is actually in the Laplace area. There is also the drag strip, which is a more recent finished racing way. You know that there has been a few kind of older at this point gambling machines, particularly only slots. Really, there might be a single table at the hotel nearby, and that's most of the major attractions here. You're also aware that there is a chemical plant that has been built on the river that runs just below Laplace proper, and that is big business. It has opened within the last year or two.
what's the name of it? Is it
I
DuPont?
believe it was DuPont Chemicals.
Gotcha, makes sense.
Sorry. As I trip over my own word. Yeah, fair play. Go ahead.
Imagine Jules was like, I know this part and this part. You know, I'm more familiar with New Orleans, but I know quite a few spots here, the popular spots, the happening
Even
spots.
if you don't know how to get to them, you know they're here.
If they're close by, then maybe we can send runners if there's no phone.
Good idea,
So
Peter.
if we split forces and then we can check one area and check the other area if we know she's going to these places.
Got
Get
two
the job
vehicles.
done. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
In the distance, as you're having this conversation, you can hear engines revving, and you imagine that it is Frank and Hank working on getting the trucks out because they aren't comparatively very far from where you are. There is not a lot of there aren't buildings obstructing the audio. There is not, like, this place has been clear cut for the upcoming construction. It's pretty much flat outside of where you found to hide the vehicles on the other side of the road. So sound is carrying pretty well. So you can hear that they're making progress. You hear tires like getting on the asphalt a bit, but sounds like everything's under the way properly.
So, Peter, who do you want with who?
I don't really care who does what, really.
Peter,
As long as you're efficient.
could I get a intelligence and investigation from you? And we'll put the DC at 2. What are you, no face? All right. Just right on the money. Perfect. Peter, it takes you a while as you're going through your conversation with Jules, and technically Isaac as well. As you begin to pick apart the possibilities on how to canvass the area and best go about it, you start to recall that the man at the frost top was a bit concerned about the situation, and he said that he didn't realize that Anne was a missing or a runaway person, so he'd keep an extra eye out for her. But that wakes something up in your mind. A light goes off from your experience as an investigator, from being on the force for so long, and it takes a while. And then with the lull in conversation with Jules, you realize it hasn't been just 2 or 3 nights. You spent 2 or 3 nights with the gardener. It's been almost a week. You're a group of missing people for a week now. N- Normally, a handful of missing individuals is not something New Orleans would really take too much notice or concern about, but before you disappeared and you woke up and found your first group, you had noticed an uptick in missing individuals in New Orleans. And you know that they're being paid particular attention to at the police department. And now it's been about a month since you technically fell off the grid. Did you reach out to anybody to kind of assuage their concerns? Let
No,
them know you might be taking time?
no. Time kind of just slipped away. Haven't done that yet.
Yeah, so you're now realizing that you're a missing police officer on the force for a month at least. Jules, Peter, Frank, Hank, Dr. Isaacs. This is no small amount of people. And this was just within the last week. And now, if Anne is a known face in New Orleans and has recently left the city without making her reasons why, she's technically also a missing persons. There's the likelihood your faces are out there somewhere right now, even if on local TV.
The realization hit Jules. Oh my God, my dad and husband are looking for me, probably. Oh fuck.
We either need to just disappear or let people know.
You hear something snap in the distance and a resounding thud as tires start spinning. And then there's silence for a few moments.
Fuck are they doing?
Probably refitting with new tires or something. Knowing Frank.
I need to speak to my lads. Let them know that shit's not gone too sideways. And also potentially keep them as contacts.
Right. Same with I guess my family. Lads. Dad. Hubby.
Dad for sure. A
Yeah.
husband, it's reasonable. I mean,
So
Jules, think about the circumstances of your disappearance too. You had made plans to meet with your very recently made husband on
right.
your birthday.
Right. It was like some festivities. Um so Jules will set up kind of this like with this look of like, oh my god, it's already been a week. 1 week of being like, a vampire and all. And she'll like start making her way out of the underneath the thing, the palace.
As you make your way out, your shoes are sinking into about an inch to 2 inches of mud, and it's like suction cupping to the bottom of them. Like you're like when you pull your foot away, there's a literal popping noise. And I need a wits awareness for you, please.
Okay. She will sigh as she's giving you this wits and awareness. Wits. And 1 success.
Unfortunately, that does not catch what is in the scene. However, as you manage to make your way with minimal mud on yourself, mostly on the shoes, out from underneath the palace, you turn the corner, but instead of moving in front of the offices, you move to the back to kind of flick the cigarette butt where most of the construction workers do at the edge of the gravel parking lot. And looking up, you notice that there is a vehicle you don't recognize there. Seems empty and turned off. It is a beat up old work truck, about similar make to Old Red.
Jules will cock her head and then to the side looking at it.
It looks like most of the paint has chipped off. There are a couple spots of rust on it. It seems like it had been painted a lighter color at one point.
She'll look to the palace and then like around, seeing if she like notices anyone around. And then I don't know if she can see Peter and Dr. Isaacs or not.
I imagine we'd be falling out soon.
So you probably hear them moving the entrance, pardon me, aside and coming out, having the same difficulty with the mud nearby.
Do you want rolls or not?
Yes, please, both of you, wits awareness. We're gonna put it at a 2. Because I know you're likely looking around for Jules because she's not in immediate sight. All right. Peter and Dr. Isaacs, both of you hear Jules around the corner, and glancing over in her direction, you notice the vehicle as well. Like, you notice something out of the corner of your eye extra, because the parking lot extends past the side where you're at. You hadn't seen this vehicle there before. Listening, you don't hear anything immediately inside the portable building.
Switch into immediate ready mode. Move up to the car, swiftly but quietly. Check in there, see if there's anyone about.
Looking in through the window, you notice that there is a bunch of like wrappers, empty cups littered about on the interior. It looks like fast food wrappers, coffee cups, and empty and partially empty cigarette crinkled boxes, like littering the passenger seat and floorboard. It it is not becoming of a healthy mental state of a vehicle for someone. You don't notice anyone in the bed of the truck, you don't notice anyone in the cab. If you're going to scan the construction area in front of you, because how the truck is situated, it is pointed towards where the construction is ongoing. Give me another wits awareness.
Can I go ahead and give one as well? Because I'm sure Jules will be wanting to take a look around.
Absolutely. If all three of you are moving over there and kind of on alert, go ahead and give me wits awareness.
I want to rouse the blood.
It's gonna be a. We should really go get the other guys before we really mess around and everything.
We'll put it at 2 again. Yeah, Dr. Isaacs, your concern is overriding your attention right now. However, Jules and Peter, 2 of you notice in the distance, moving between the homes, a beam of light moving back and forth occasionally. And it seems very methodic. It seems like it moves to one house. You hear the sound of a door opening. You notice the light going through some of the windows. And then it goes briefly through some of the back windows. You hear a door shutting. And then a few moments later, it makes its way to the next house. And it does this with both sides of the street. So after about a minute, it's gone through maybe one home. It seems to be taking its time. It seems a little bit slower paced.
We've got 2 options. Either we get the fuck out of here, or we silence that. How likely do you reckon it would be to be able to find where we're sleeping?
Sorry, what was that?
How likely do you think they'll be able to find where we're sleeping?
I would say pretty likely, since like we have like our footprints there with the mud puddles.
I will say this. You had a hard time with the mud, but the area that was picked for the entrance is fairly well obscured. It's fairly well obscured and fairly well hidden that piece actually comes back at all. It's like a particular small mud patch up against that flap that you were having difficulty with.
If the mud's that fluid, would the footprints not just get sucked up?
So it's very tacky mud.
Right.
Yeah, it's not runny or watery, it's more tacky, so it would actually leave a very or rather detailed imprint of the bottom of the shoe.
Okay.
Welcome to the South. The mud is awful. If you want slick mud, unfortunately that's clay and that's a whole different issue.
Right. Guys, your options are hide or get involved in getting rid of it.
I think Frank did a good job. I'm gonna trust Frank. I think we should just get out of here. There's no reason for another body to show up.
Yeah. I'm concerned about that. Do you guys want to go and meet them too a little bit further up to try not to arouse suspicion? I'm going to go and make sure he doesn't find us.
Okay. We'll meet you. Should we have them swing by and pick you up, or are you gonna come out to where they are?
I'm sure I'll find you. If I'm covered in blood, then you know what's going on.
Is it is it still raining, by the way? Or
No, it is currently exceptionally damp,
okay.
vastly humid. In fact, paying attention to the area around you, you hear the thrum of crickets. You hear water in the distance. There's a very earthy, like damp, warm peat moss scent in the air with an undertone of smoke or something that has burnt recently, like wood wise. Not particularly a chemical smell. Um, Looking up and around, the sky is not clear. It's very, very overcast. You can't make out if they are rain clouds, but you would hedge your bet that this time of year, it's probably another storm getting ready.
Jules will take all that in and then nod at Peter. All right, see you then. Hopefully, maybe if you're, the rain will wash your clothes, but try not to get messy. And then Jules will smile and then look to Dr. Isaacs and start walking, doing her best to be stealthy to go meet up with Hank and Frank.
I'll give him like a worried nod, and then I'll follow.
Cool. So I'm gonna head back towards our house
Mhm.
in the middle of a street. Our house.
Our house. Like the very first one that you went into, you'd originally thought about, or are you going to the unit next to you that you just came out from under?
Yeah, where we're sleeping.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and decant myself as stealthily as possible and watch this guy do his rounds. See if he sees our entrance, our sleeping domicile. It's basically just gonna watch him. If he sees anything, then I'm just gonna fucking juck him. But yeah, if not, I'm gonna let him go on his way.
Give me a good chuck in.
All right. So you're covering your tracks, correct?
Yeah.
And you're also being stealthy about trying to observe where he's headed.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, for your personal stealth, please give me stealth dexterity
I'm gonna
with
do a bit of that edge.
a
Cool.
rouse check. What are we throwing on here? What are we spicing it up with?
Just adding a bit of dexterity.
Okay.
Dex stealth, yeah.
So we're rousing the blood for the check. And those of you who have not given me your hunger for the evening, please give me rouse checks.
I think we did it last time.
Yeah, we did.
Time, didn't
Last time for the first evening? Okay.
we? Yeah, because I'm still on. I didn't drop below hunger 0 yet,
Okay.
which is why I'm still in a good mood and somewhat distracted.
All right. 3 successes. Not bad. Not bad. Let's see how aware your unwitting friend is. Okay. Now please give me a take a look. Wit survival in covering the tracks of where you come out from under.
Cheeky.
I mean, you're the one trying to do all the subterfuge stuff right now.
Yeah.
You gotta think about it.
I think I might re-roll one of those.
You wanna use a reroll on that because
I think
the
I
bestial
do.
failure.
Maybe.
All right,
I'm making a roll.
all right. Willpower reroll.
3 of them. Roll to 3.
Yes.
No, I just
Oh.
fucked that up royally.
Unfortunate.
I do some mud angels.
So, you break off a few branches of one of the nearby shrubs pressed up against the side, and you start swishing them through the mud, covering the steps, but leaving an odd and somewhat noticeable pattern and dropping the branch not too far away.
Winner.
It looks good to you. You take a look at it. Doesn't really give you the impression that somebody had been walking there. Gives you the impression that maybe something happened there, but it doesn't look like obvious that people are living under here.
Okay.
During your observation, you notice that they traverse the completed homes and the homes which have walls. They don't approach any of the ones that are simply in framing or slab. And then they begin to make their way back to the mobile unit that you're currently near, and they are making their way towards the door. And it doesn't look like they've noticed you at this point in time, but it's very clear they're going to check the offices. You don't hear them. So, as you're keeping an eye out, you do not hear them moving any construction equipment. You don't hear the bang of tools or materials. You hear specifically doors opening and shutting.
It's just more likely a security guy just checking.
That is your impression, yes. Especially with how methodic they're being.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and observe from my sequestered location.
The light sweeps from left to right as he gets closer to the building, and you notice it's a elderly, not exactly elderly, a gentleman in his late 50s, probably looks a little bit weathered, like he's had some outdoor jobs up to this point. He probably took this one thinking it would be easier since it's not during the day. His clothing is disheveled. It's an odd mixture of casual and business attire, and from what you can gather, he looks like he has dressed himself in the dark. It's crumpled, it's wrinkled, coupled with what you saw in the truck, you imagine he might be living in his truck.
Okay.
And these are probably the best pieces of clothing he currently owns. His hair has started to turn white in the front, and he has a short, somewhat clipped beard. It's a little bit uneven, and you can tell as he draws closer to you, he's of African American descent.
Okay. I'm still gonna buy my time.
The light actually sweeps over you in one of his glances, and it pauses for a moment towards the center and kind of moves back in your direction.
Okay.
Do you do anything? Because you can notice that this happens. Like you're able to see its source versus where it's illuminating for him. You have the advantage here.
I'm gonna try and circle round.
Right.
So move my position so he possibly see me on my tracks. So I'm gonna
Give
try and circle
me
around to another one, another position.
give me another stealth dexterity for this one then, as you're trying to likely be quieter.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a little bit better.
Oh, that's lovely. That's 6 successes.
I vanish from existence and appear in a completely different place.
You believe that you've been very successful in your endeavor. You don't hear you yourself paying attention closely, do not hear any sound from your footsteps. You don't hear the mud, you don't hear the grass, you don't hear the rustle of leaves brushing against you. And as you notice, the light has come up close and is kind of peeking around that corner and shining back and forth a bit. It stops at the edge. You hear him walk up a little bit further, probably roughly where you were standing before, mumble something to himself, and then move back around the front as though nothing had happened. And you hear him rustling around a ring of keys, unlocking the front door and going in.
Gonna try and keep an eye on, see if I can just be, again, quite subtle and just making sure he's not going to where our entrance is.
Okay. This is going to take you quite some time comparative to the others meeting up, but I will say that how long are you willing to dedicate to this just to see where his next route takes him?
Well, I just want to make sure he doesn't find our den, really.
Mhm.
If he moves on, then I'll slip away into the night, and let him get on with it. He's doing a job at the end of the day. He doesn't need to die unnecessarily.
And yet he will.
It takes you around 15 minutes because he's fairly thorough inside the building. You also hear a flush. And he comes back out of the offices mumbling under his breath about construction workers and smoking in the building and how it smells awful in there. But he just continues back on his way. You don't hear him stopping to make a call inside because you do recall there was a phone. And he heads back towards the houses to start his circuit over again. You think you're in the clear for right now.
But if he's going to be doing that over and over and over again,
Yeah, but I'll give you this. Give me an investigation and wits again. Or intelligence. Investigation, intelligence. Let's go with that one.
okay, I prefer that.
Yeah. Say 2. A 4. You knocked it out of the park. This man looks like he was a quick hire. He could make the time that they needed him here, and now he's here. He doesn't seem to have particular training or experience in this situation. He seems of a stronger build, not an athletic or a fighter's build, but he's imposing in his height and his stature. So they probably picked him thinking he looked intimidating. And he was also a quick hire. He does not look as though he's trained. He doesn't look as though he is particularly thorough in his job. While he is taking his time, you notice things that as an investigator stood out to you and you would have checked further. He's doing cursory looks. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. And you think the only reason why he checked the side instead of sweeping back and forth up to the entrance going in and then turning around was because he might have caught a glint of something with the light on your person.
Okay, cool. I shall slip away into the night and meet up with the rest of them.
All right. In the meantime, Jules, Dr. Isaacs, you've made your way down the road, and as you come upon the scene, you notice Hank and Frank unhitching the trucks from one another.
So how's it going?
Frank will be singing.
One of the radios is on, particularly the one in the idling red beat up truck with a happy, jaunty tune.
Jules will pause, and then she'll ask again. So how's it going?
Oh. Hello, love. All
Hi.
good.
Oh, good.
Ding the blue one a little bit. I need to get some tools out so I can pull that panel out.
Pull it out.
Yeah. Pull the ding out.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that you could do that.
Yeah. Have I not taught you anything? Honestly, where's your head at?
Frank, it'll be fine. It's a little ding. We don't need to mess about with it. It's a stolen car, man. We're going to ditch it eventually. It needs to be pristine. And it still works.
He'll look confused for a second, and then, oh right, yeah.
Jules is looking still confused about teaching her stuff, and then Peter will meet up with us.
Where is he?
He wanted to investigate something.
So, what, we're going to go without him? Or we're waiting for him? Where are we going, by the way?
There was talk about us splitting up.
Yeah.
Ah. Oh. That's sad.
Why is it sad?
I like you guys.
We like you too. Don't we, Dr. Isaacs?
Yeah.
So, who wants to go with who?
I want to go with everyone.
Well,
Yeah, I know. I can't, but
right.
We're split up for a few hours, Frank, not forever.
Yeah, I know. I'm not insane. Just saying. I'm quite happy to go with everyone.
Peter said that he didn't care as long as, we did a good job and are efficient.
Why don't me and the doctor here take the first stop, see what we can find. You guys take the drag strip, and then we'll let Peter decide who he's going to tag with when he gets it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And then we'll meet up at the chemical plant.
Well, I think we meet up at the hotel. So if she's not at the first stop and she's not at the drag race, then she's going to be at the hotel.
Makes sense to me.
The hotel. So, table-wise, Jules, you know roughly that the hotel is between the drag race area. So the race strip. Sorry, I just got the weather warning for the tropical storm. The hotel is between the race strip and the frost top. It's almost equidistant. If anything, it's a little bit closer to the drag strip.
Well, the hotel will be closer. She'll explain where it is to everyone.
You direct, love. I'll drive.
So that works. We start out in the extremities and we work back to the middle.
Makes sense.
Sounds great.
Gotcha.
How's Peter going to know how to meet us? Or is he going to meet us at the...
We're waiting here for him.
Oh, are we? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Unless one of us wants to go and get the show on the road.
We'll give him 10 minutes and then we'll set off.
Okay.
Okay.
She'll kind of
divide it out. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
she'll kind of eye Hank and be like, yeah, y'all can go ahead. That way, me and Frank and Peter can go to the other place that y'all don't go to. She's eyeing you, kind of trying to get the message across that she doesn't want to just go with Frank by herself.
Is this subtle at all?
God,
This is a big question. Is this subtle?
as subtle as it's kind of she's kind of going yeah.
So is it subtle enough that Frank's not going to notice, but also too subtle that anyone else does notice?
That's
how are you playing it?
Okay, how about this? Those of you not Jules in the scene, so Frank, Hank, and Dr. Isaacs, give me wits awareness. Jules, give me... Would you say you're manipulating right now? I would say a little bit. Manipulation subterfuge. And we'll put yours as a 2.
Okay.
and they have to meet that or beat that to notice.
All right, I'm gonna rouse the blood because.
Okay.
Hey.
Well, you're getting lucky tonight.
Oh yeah. And you said subterfuge, and the other one was manipulation.
Yes. So your DC is a 2 to be effective at this, and then they have to meet whatever yours is to notice it.
Gotcha.
Because maybe it's
And
just too subtle.
oh, 4 out
It
of
might
2.
just be a little too subtle, unfortunately.
That's the problem with Jules. She's good at lying.
So the rest of you notice that Jules definitely wants to try and wait for Peter. And if you do split up, she wants to hang back and make sure he joins with the group more than anything. Jules, they don't seem to really catch on. Actually, you hear Blue Velvet in the background. No, we're not sponsored. No, we don't have copyrights. Sorry. As Frank is humming it to himself. Mm-hmm.
Hank, not to be rude, just looking at this, and I know there were some issues, but you know how to drive, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Making
drove
sure.
it. Hank, you were the one that drove it back, right? The other night? You
Yes.
and Frank both drove. Yeah.
I rode with Frank, so
Hey, Doc, look, it's just a ding, right? It was an accident because of the mud on the road. That's all it was. Don't hold it against him. He did a good enough job. Anyone would have dinged it.
Thank you, Frank. It is quite hard to get a truck out of that much mud
It was
without a
hard
lot
work.
without a lot under the wheels to leverage it out. Okay.
It was hard work with 2 of us doing it, and with old Red pulling. Right, we had a good
Achieving there,
chance.
Doc,
But
we could have put you under the wheels, and that would have given us a bit more leverage.
hey,
And
now
we might
come
have got
on.
it out.
I'm not
Hey,
saying
come on.
that you don't know how to drive. I was just asking in general that you have passed the Louisiana State Board certification of driving.
Yes, I have.
Come on
Okay.
now, let's play nicely. There's no
Uh,
necessity for this. We're just
if
sniping
they
at
had
each
had
other
a
and everything.
helping hand, it might have been easier so that they could both been on the outside and somebody could have
Yeah.
steered.
Helping hand, helping body under the wheels, helping something anyway.
You have asked,
But
but you said you
that's
had it
just
under
a
control.
faint background thought in some minds, not everyone.
Where's all this negativity coming from?
Well, how about this? Next time y'all have to do that, I'll be in the truck to steer. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
What do they say about teamwork?
Makes the dream work.
Or Dr. NASCAR. Yeah, he can maybe steer us out next time.
Hey, come on now.
Peter, you actually show up as you say that, and you hear the bickering from down the road.
Just to let you know, we've got a night watchman.
We do?
He's pretty shit, but
Oh.
he's a night watchman.
We should fire him then.
Well, problem is, if he gets fired, then his employer is going to wonder where he is, and then probably hire somebody else who might be
he's not-
slightly more effective.
He's not our night watchman then.
No. Checking the construction site. I watch his movements, but he doesn't seem to be particularly very effective at doing what he's supposed to be doing. He didn't spot our bedroom. I didn't dispatch him because I didn't think it would be prudent to draw more attention to ourselves.
Frank's right. If he goes disappearing, they might just hire someone a bit better. Why don't we just pay him off? Why don't we just chuck him some money, tell them that we've got a bit of a stash underneath here, that nobody needs to know about it, and we all go away better off? He doubles his menial wage. We don't get any trouble. He doesn't get into any trouble. And we just play it off as a bit of a hustle.
I got like $3. You're welcome to it.
We can get some money if we need to.
Yeah.
I think that's not a bad idea if we get rumbled.
All right.
But as
Boss?
far as we're aware at the minute,
Sorry, Toast, you okay?
It's all good. We just have the hour mark.